Everybody, Scott Carson here with your note term of the day. And today's note term of the day is, what does CFK stand for? Well, what does CFK is not Kentucky Fried Chicken spelled backwards, okay? What CFK stands for is cash for keys, all right? This is where you have a borrower on a non-performing note that you're working with to get them to basically sign the property over and walk away for cash. You're incentivizing them to just deed the property back to you, do a deed in lieu of foreclosure, and sign the property back to you and walk away. Now, cash for keys can vary on the amount. We've done it anywhere from $500 all the way up to $10,000. Our usual number, ballpark number, is to offer cash for keys. We would basically start the offer at what it would cost us to foreclose. All right, so if it costs us $1,500 to foreclose, and that's what we'll have to spend with with our attorney to foreclose, that is what we would offer as a cash for keys. Now, we've had people come to us and say, "Oh, I'm willing to sign the property for $5,000." I'm like, "Okay, great. Well, $4,500 of that's going to go to back taxes that you owe, so I'll give you $500." Okay, and they would agree to that. Or we've done for $2,000 before, where we paid the first and last month's rent to help the borrower get into an apartment, or we paid for moving costs, or just trying to help them out. I've done it in the past where I said, look, I'll give you $1,000 now to sign on the deed in lieu, and another $1,000 to be moved out by the end of the month. Now, once a borrower signs off on your deed in lieu and you've given the cash for keys, you own that property. Even if you have not recorded the deed in lieu, you own that property. So one thing you want to make dang sure of is, before you ever offer up a deed in lieu or cash for key situation, make sure that you've pulled an O&E report, an ownership and encumbrance report, to making sure that you're the only lien on the property. If you sign a deed in lieu or cash for keys, if you're giving somebody money to walk, if there is a junior lien, that junior lien can now fall into the first lien position. All right. Now, what you do not want to do that case is do a deed in lieu. You would do what's called a consent to judgment. We'll talk about that later on. But a cash for keys is when you're offering the borrower some money to get out of the property. It may be 1 month's rent. It may be a flat fee. Like I said, we've done up to $10,000 before, when there's a ton of, I guess you could say, loan equity. The house was worth 100, borrower owed 120. And it made sense for us to give $10,000 to get the borrower out of the way versus dragging out a foreclosure for another 6 to 12 months. So the idea of this is cash for keys. If you're working with a borrower, you may also get a cash for consent of judgment if there are the junior liens or seconds behind your note as well. But cash for keys happens pretty often. Your servicing company will usually negotiate this on your behalf with the borrower. You just have to let them know what you're willing to kind of offer and go from there in your parameters. And it happens. A lot of times you're buying 10 notes. You'll sometimes have about a quarter of those, 2 to 3 of those borrowers that would accept a deed in lieu cash for keys. This is be very prevalent if the borrower has already moved out of the property. All right, in that case, we'll do $500 is what our starting point, especially if they've moved out. If they're in the property, we'll often do a little bit more to help offset some of those moving costs or transfer costs if they're moving somewhere else. So that's your note term of the day. What is CFK? Cash for keys.